do you need us to go forward or do you want us to wait? A little bit more time? Sure. Oh, may I please have the introduction of the translator?
Yes.
Oh, thank
Hi,
you.
everyone.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. Diego Ponce here again today with my colleague San Guzman from the COC. Thank you for continuing making this commitment towards language justice so that everyone can participate and engage in the language of their heart, the language that each person feels most comfortable in. So we'll continue doing simultaneous interpretation in English and in Spanish. After I say this in English, I'll repeat it in Spanish. Then at that moment, we start the interpretation. Once the interpretation is turned on, you'll be able to see that globe icon that says interpretation there in the bottom right-hand corner of your computer screen. Please select that globe icon and please select your preferred language. And if you're joining the meeting on your cell phone or your tablet, please be on the lookout for the more button or the three dots button to select your preferred language this other way. If you're not fully bilingual, I strongly encourage you to select your preferred language so you can use the interpretation for whenever someone's going to be speaking in the opposite language. And if you're bilingual, just feel free to listen to everyone in the original language. As always, just please pay attention to the speed in which you're speaking. Just please make sure you're speaking at a conversational pace like this. And please make sure you don't pick up your reading speed. So thank you so much for that. Buenas tardes a todos y a todas. Yo soy Diego Pons. Estoy aquí hoy con mi colega Sam Guzmán de parte de la Cooperativa Comunitaria de la Justicia del Lenguaje, el CLC. Gracias como siempre por invitarnos y comprometerse a servir a la justicia del lenguaje. Eso significa que queremos crear un espacio para que todas las personas puedan participar e involucrarse en el idioma de su corazón, simplemente el idioma en el que todas las personas se sientan más cómodas. Vamos a continuar hoy utilizando la interpretación simultánea aquí en Zoom para crear ese espacio en inglés y en español. Cuando termine de decir esto, se va a activar la interpretación y ya cuando esté activada la interpretación, usted va a poder ver ese icono del globo de la Tierra que dirá interpretación. Allí abajo en la derecha de su pantalla, por favor seleccione ese icono del globo de la Tierra y por favor seleccione su idioma preferido. Pero si usted está asistiendo hoy a la reunión en su celular o en su tableta, por favor, busque la opción que dice More, que quiere decir más, o posiblemente el botón de 3 puntos para que pueda seleccionar su idioma preferido de esta otra manera. Y si usted no es completamente bilingüe, le vamos a pedir que por favor seleccione su idioma preferido para que pueda utilizar la interpretación cuando alguien está hablando en el otro idioma. Si usted sí es bilingüe, siéntase libre de escuchar a todos hoy en su idioma original. Y eso es todo. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. Moving on to opening remarks by mayor and council. Council, do we have any opening remarks? Okay, I will just remind the community that we are having our local hometown hero Sepp Kuss celebration and parade on October 19th, this Thursday, starting at 3:30 p.m. at Buckley Park, followed by a bike parade, of course, at 4:30 p.m. up and down Main. So hope to see everyone there. It's going to be a very exciting day for our community. And with that, we're going to move on to our presentation and proclamations. I'm going to start with a Friends of the, I was going to read the proclamation first, but we're going straight to the Friends of the Library bookmark contest winners. This is such an exciting time. Who's going to start us out here? Go ahead. Thank you so much.
I'm Shelly Arsenault, former president of Friends of the Library, and I get to do one last thing, even though I'm out of the room, to present these wonderful kids with their awards from Maria's and copies of their own bookmark. And let's get going.
Yeah, this is such we always love this celebration. I want to thank everyone for being involved. It's so great.
Years ago, this is
One of the highlights. It's one of the highlights. I can't wait to see all the bookmarks. So thank you for bringing those as well.
Somebody here taking pictures? Great, awesome, thank you. Okay, I'm going to start, I can speak plenty loud when I get out there. I'm going to start with the elementary set.
I think we would love it if you'd speak into the microphone because those watching on TV or Zoom or Facebook or anything, they can hear you. Sorry, we do everything hybrid anymore.
I did want to say this has been going on for several years. And Nancy Peak here is one of the founders of this project. And do you even remember what year you started? No, okay, so it's been a long, long time and it's grown in popularity and it's something that everybody asks about all the time at the library when they come in. Where are the new bookmarks? Where can I get the new bookmarks? So the new ones for next year will come out at the book sale on the 4th and 5th of November. So less than 2 weeks away. Okay, let's start with the elementary winners. Okay, our runner-up is Greer Carly in 5th grade from MMS. These are for you. You can each get 50 bookmarks of your own. You can just do them together. Oh, we can do them separate.
Okay.
Or yeah, whatever.
Or maybe we can get a big group photo at the end.
At the end? Sounds good.
Stay up with their.
And the winner for the elementary, I promise you'll be joined soon. The winner for the elementary category is Charlie Downey. Oh, and I failed to mention that the runner-ups get $50 gift certificate to Maria's. And the winners get $100 gift certificate to Maria's, along with the Maria's water bottle and 50 copies of their own card. Wow. Very nice. Okay, the runner-up for middle school is Emma Munoz Rapatica. Did I say this correctly? No. And she is in 8th grade, I'm sorry, at EMS. The winner is Graham Wendland, 6th grade.
Sliding these along.
Our high school runner-up is River Horner, 12th grade at Animas High School. And our winner, the high school, is Haley Hurst, 12th grade at AHL. And thanks again to Maria's. We appreciate your partnership in this all these years.
That is so great. Okay, so for can we get a photo with, maybe council should stand, and then let's get a photo somehow. How does it work best, Tom? You want them behind the photos right here?
Let's put this in front.
Council on the floor. Okay, let's go to the floor.
Yeah, Shelley.
You come here, you stand with yours in front of you. Next. This one's yours, right?
We'll get behind you
Okay.
guys. Council in the back.
Yeah. I love the Prince apple quote.
All right, you guys hold the, yeah, perfect.
Oh. You're welcome. You.
Good, right. 3, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Nice job. It's amazing. You guys are awesome. Congratulations.
Thank
Super
you.
cool. That's beautiful stuff. Yeah. Oh, well, I don't know. So cool, you guys. Great job.
I forgot. Yeah, okay.
The library, they stay up for a whole year.
At the library.
Oh, we did get them last year.
The library.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for coming. So good to see you. That's okay. Thank you. That was lovely. Thank you, everyone who participated in the bookmark contest. We might want to close the door. We're going to keep going on, moving on to proclamation, Community Library Champion. Do we have someone that will be accepting the award or the proclamation? Yeah, okay, great. I'll meet you down there. Here, thank you. I'll read this, and then if you want to say something, you can. Okay. So we have a 2023 Library Community Champion Reading Club of Durango proclamation. Whereas recognizing that the success of any public library is enhanced and sustained by dedicated citizens, the Durango Public Library Advisory Board will single out certain individuals or groups for particular appreciation through its Library Community Champion Initiative. The awarding of this personal distinction honors singular achievement and commitment on behalf of the library and, in turn, the community. And whereas the Reading Club of Durango was nominated for the Library Community Champion Award for their role in establishing the Durango Public Library and promoting literacy from 1882 to the present day. And whereas the Reading Club wrote to Andrew Carnegie to obtain funding for the building in 1907 and donated its own small library of books, furnishings, and fixtures to the new library. And whereas the club played an integral role in the preservation of the Mesa Verde cliff dwellings and the preservation of Mesa Verde as a park. And whereas the Durango Public Library Advisory Board wishes to recognize the Reading Club of Durango publicly for their dedication to the Durango Public Library, our community, and all that they did and continue to do to make Durango Public Library and Durango a success. Now, therefore, I, Melissa Youssef, Mayor of Durango, Colorado, do hereby recognize the Reading Club of Durango as the 2023 Library Community Champion.
I'm the current president of the Durango Reading Club. And Melissa just used everything I was going to say, but
You guys wrote her.
we are 141 years old. Sometimes we feel like it, but I'm sure we don't look like it. And I'm accepting this on behalf of all the members of the past 141 years.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you all. That was fun. Now we're moving on to city manager updates. Moving it on to 5.1.
Yes, Mayor and Council, we have a City Inclusive Entrepreneurship Program update from Tommy Crosby.
Thanks, Tom. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Tommy Crosby. I'm the Economic Opportunity Manager. I'm here tonight to provide you with the final 2023 update on the City Inclusive Entrepreneurship Project. It's a mouthful, so for the rest of my presentation, I'll be referring to it as the CIE program. So a little refresher, you've seen some of this information before, but the CIE program is a program of the National League of Cities. You have to apply to it every year. It's quite competitive. The city of Durango was accepted in 2023. And the program is really focused on creating policies, programs, and practices that drive more inclusive economic growth in our community. The way that I like to talk about it and think about it is, how can we poke good holes and learn new ways to bring resources through those new holes that we've poked? Every time you're going to hear from me on this topic, you'll always see this slide. This is at the very heart of the work that we've been doing this last year. This idea of bringing equity into economic growth. How can we create an economy in Durango that everyone has the opportunity to benefit from? We want to see a community where everyone can enjoy the fruits of economic security and vitality, childcare, housing costs covered, livable and thriving wages, access to healthy, fresh, nutritious food, being able to have a savings account where you can squirrel away a little bit of money to go on vacation with your family, do things that bring you joy. This is really the root of this work when we're talking about how are we bringing equity into economic growth. A little bit more on the how. So this project was done through the lens of food business entrepreneurship. We convened a fantastic food business work group. That work group was awarded $15,000 in funding to invest in our project. We worked with other cities across the US that were accepted into our ecosystem accelerator cohort through the CIE program. And then lastly, but most importantly, we made sure that community drove the scope of this work. It wasn't us coming with solutions and telling everyone how things should be done. We really listened to the entrepreneurs who are going to benefit most from the work of what they need to get what they want done. So I'm excited to talk about some of the who made this project happen. At the heart was the La Plata Food Equity Coalition. Ms. Erin Jolly was the glue that held this project together, bringing together all of these organizations that food business entrepreneurs might have a touch point with throughout their journey to starting their food business in Durango. And really what I like to think of as kind of the special sauce that really set this project apart was this ecosystem of food business support organizations mastered the art of the warm handoff. So when I talk about the warm handoff, I talk about a food business entrepreneur who they might not speak any English, they might speak a little bit of English, and they've just been told they think they need an inspection of their food truck by the San Juan Basin Public Health organization. So maybe that looks like Mary at the Small Business Development Center contacting Erin and saying, hey, Erin, can we get some translation services later this week when so-and-so has their food truck inspection? So Mary makes the call to Erin, Erin makes the call to San Juan Basin. San Juan Basin gets tipped off, not to be surprised when there's a translator on site in the crammed little food truck space, providing those translation services in real time. And the difference that makes compared to, oh yeah, just go reach out to San Juan Basin, you'll figure it out. The art of the warm handoff really made this project stand apart. This is the crew that made up our food business work group this past year. Very grateful for all of them. So when we talk about community leading the scope of this project, I really want to take a moment to highlight who that was, who those voices were, what was the makeup of that cohort. So we really focus on women, BIPOC, and immigrant-owned food businesses and food entrepreneurs. We believe that when you have different perspectives, you're going to get different results, and those results better reflect the community as a whole. So what did those voices tell us? What were those barriers? What were those needs? We outlined the top three kind of needs that were surfaced through that surveying here. First and foremost was a resource list or a directory, kind of a one-stop shop for resources when you're starting a food business in Durango and La Plata. More information about local grants and funding, and then leveraging this fantastic food business network that we have in Durango and La Plata, creating opportunities to learn from and with one another. So our food business work group heard that loud and clear, and we got to work, and the project resulted in a handful of really impactful areas. So the biggest one being that food business directory. We created a bilingual food business directory that had everything from city contacts to San Juan Basin contacts to small business development center contacts to translation services, to really kind of consolidate all those different touch points that folks might have during their food entrepreneurship process. We facilitated a language justice training with over 40 attendees. There were 2 funding for food business sessions, one in Bayfield and one in Durango during West Slope Startup Week. We had a food safety training. And then this last one here, we learned that commissary kitchen or commercial kitchen space is there's a shortage of it in Durango and La Plata. So that's what I'm going to touch on here. That last in the top left, the no cost commissary kitchen program, because I think this story really sums up the work of our CIE program this last year. So on the right, you'll see a handful of partners. Again, our fearless leader, Aaron, on the right, convening these different groups together to bring some resources to the entrepreneur in the middle, Miss Maria, who started Tacos La Carranza. And we had 2 partners on this project from Manna Soup Kitchen. And you might not be aware, but Manna has a fantastic educational commercial kitchen where they do a lot of classes and trainings, but outside of those trainings, that space largely goes unused. So Manna being part of this, hearing that, hey, we're in a pinch when it comes to commissary kitchen space in Durango, Manna said, we're happy to offer up our commissary kitchen space at no cost for the first 6 to 12 months of an entrepreneur's, first foray into starting their food business. And so having that invaluable resource of a no-cost commissary space, we were able to connect Maria with the folks from Manna. Using in the white hat here, you'll see Olivia, one of our language justice coordinators, being able to provide translation in real time during that kitchen walkthrough to make sure that she understands how to unlock the building, how to turn all the equipment on and off, how to clean up in a language that she best understands. And on the left, I think that photo perfectly sums it up, of literally being handed the keys to the kingdom of that commissary kitchen to turn that dream of becoming your own boss into a reality. And you'll now see Maria's truck mostly parked in the Hermosa gas station parking lot, but sometimes around Durango as well. But I think that's really the perfect example of this network, all these different touch points, how we brought those together in a really seamless, efficient way to make that process quicker, more efficient, more effective, more approachable. So next steps, what's happening now? We are really hoping to pursue the CIE program in 2024. We're going to take some of our lessons learned this year, and the track that we're looking to focus on is Hispanic business owners. So identifying barriers to Latinx entrepreneurs in Durango and La Plata, and finding new programs, policies, and practices that we can put into place to reduce some of those barriers that exist for Hispanic business owners. For that to happen, we are requesting a mayoral letter of commitment that we can submit to the National League of Cities. On today's consent agenda, you'll notice an item, a resolution requesting that approval of that letter of commitment. Upon approval of that, we'll formally be able to express our interest with National League of Cities of participating in 24. And then last but not least, we're just getting started as far as it comes with creating momentum around this support system around our food businesses. And I think the best silver lining is that, yeah, food businesses, that was our original focus, but all the ripples that we've seen to just making being an entrepreneur in Durango, no matter if you're a food business or an other type of business, just a little bit more approachable, just a little bit more accessible. And we're excited to keep harnessing and moving with that momentum that we've created in this first year of the CIE program. So thanks for letting me give you our final update of 23. We appreciate the mayor and council's support of letting us participate in 23. At this point, happy to take any questions or field any comments in relation to the CIE program.
Thank you so much for the update. Questions, council? Go ahead.
I don't have any questions. Incredible work. Holy smokes, how exciting it is to see you and other members of our community really creating positive impact for inclusive practices and building momentum in great ways. So, and the fact that you did this with a $15,000 grant tells me how much great work you can do with such little funding. I can't imagine if we had more robust funding, like what else we could accomplish. So super proud of the great work that you've done and you continue to do. And I look forward to seeing what happens from here. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I couldn't say it any better. So ditto to what he said, such incredible work and what a great way to rally so many different organizations around such an amazing program. So congrats.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Tommy. It's really great work you're doing. And also thank you to Mana Innovation Center for donating the kitchen space. That's really awesome that you have stakeholders in the community. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I echo the support for all the entities, all the organizations. I think it's fantastic. Language Justice and the Food Coalition, Mana, it's great. I do have a question though, because the National League of Cities, is that National League of Cities? And then that's the CIE program. Does it cost money? Because first, I think you mentioned grant. Is it a grant or is it a loan? And who pays the loan?
No cost, and the grant funding is 100% provided by National League of Cities to participating organizations.
Okay, so we get free money and we only get the benefits. So keep it up. Bring some more programs like that.
Great.
Yeah, great presentation. Thank you so much, Tommy.
Thank you. Appreciate the support.
All right, appreciate that update. And with that, we will move on to our committee board and liaison reports. Counselors. Who would like to go first? Go ahead, Dave.
Sure, I'll take the mantle. I've had quite a bit going on in the last couple of weeks. This morning I had the Chamber of Commerce board meeting. Durango School District 9 hours in the pilot stage of their career launch of the Southwest, which is a business and student platform that connects both students and local businesses for mentorship, work opportunities, and internships. So there's nothing quite like this in rural Colorado, and they're really excited to connect these high school age students with local businesses. So really cool to see how that is moving along and how we've always talked about like internships and how do we, recruitment and retention is so difficult in our community for some of these entry-level positions. And so being able to like grow these individuals, especially students in our community, and teach them the trades, give them these micro certifications to really have something tangible when they go out into the real world and in the workforce and have something like, I can do this because I'm food safety certified. I'm really, really excited to see where that leads. YPOD, or Young Professionals of Durango, is holding its annual Fall Day party at the Sky U Casino in Ignacio. They're going to connect the local young professional community with each other and also potential mentors in the business community. They called us OPOD, older Professionals of Durango, which I wasn't too keen on. Well, they were being facetious and joking, but because we're not young. All right, is this thing on? All right. We also held an Eggs and Issues panel discussion on Proposition HH that brought both pro and con sides to discussion. Subsequently, the Chamber of Commerce this morning actually voted unanimously in opposition of Proposition HH and how it could potentially impact property tax collections for municipalities. So they did come out publicly to say they are opposed to Proposition HH as it is written currently. I also had community engagement hours this morning. I met with 3 members of the community discussing everything from downtown's next step to community engagement. So it was really cool to meet with those folks, and I'll have some takeaways. I'll send out an email, let everybody know. I got a Colorado area ski towns meeting this Friday. So I'm looking forward to representing Durango and Vail. So that's going to be fun. It's my first time going. Jessica, I'll probably hit you up with some pointers. Olivia and I were fortunate enough to go to meet with the executive director for the ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union, the director of Colorado. We discussed some of our successes in Durango and how we are supporting our social resource organizations like Access Health, Mana Resource Center, et cetera. We highlighted our core program and how our success there, along with upstream prevention strategies with La Plata Youth Services. And yeah, it was great meeting up with Deborah and Sophie to hear about what the ACLU was up to and what their priorities are leading into 2024. That's it.
Great. Thank you very much. Olivier?
I copy what you said on the ACLU.
Okay.
I had the Alliance meeting. We had a Alliance Summit recap where they were up in revenue, up in ticket sales, up in sponsors. They had lots of great feedback in regards to the speakers. And so they're excited and already kind of thinking about next year. So we also got updates on the Catalyst Fund. Round 2 is open. That closes the end of October with awards in November. And they have about 450,000 to deploy for the second round of that. And then they'll have money for round 3 potentially, the beginning of 2024. We talked about the resiliency grant, which is going to be complete next month. The drone and security, they had a drone class and a security class, micro certifications. Those finish in December. Opportunity Now grant is full throttle. I can talk. They're going to spend the next couple weeks collecting data on what employers need in these, with more of these micro certifications. A lot of leadership development for employees is what they're going to be focused on. So there you go.
Excellent. Thank you. Counselor Yazzie?
Yes, I had a busy time also, but not as busy as Dave. Anyways, on 11/9, I went up to Fort Lewis College and participated in their Indigenous Walk and had an opportunity to meet with some of the student leaders. And it was really empowering because when you're a graduate of FLC, you're really proud of the school. And so I just emphasized, continuing your education and trying to be a good community person. And then we had, of course, I went to the Kiwanis lunch, spoke to them about what city council is doing, and they were really interested. How I was doing on council. I told them that it was going very was really proud of the fact that the council is able to work together. We're moving forward on a lot of projects. I also had the Regional Housing Association meeting, and basically we revamped a little bit of the bylaws, and then we also talked about continuing funding for some of the projects here in La Plata County with Proposition 123, and how the residences at Durango, which is the Best Western, is contributing to about 65% of our 3-year commitment to provide affordable housing for the city of Durango. And also they're going to have a groundbreaking on October 27th at the Residences of Durango, which is formerly the Best Western, on Friday. And that's about it.
Thank you for that update. And that groundbreaking, I believe, is at 10 a.m.
Oh, that's correct.
on Friday, I think
Yes.
the 27th, right?
Mhm,
Yep.
That's correct.
So thank you. A couple quick updates. I also met with the ACLU Executive Director, Deborah Richardson. Talked a lot with her about our efforts around housing in Durango. I put her in touch with Jen Lopez, who founded the Community Investment Alliance, to talk further about the first bridge program that she's working on to prevent homelessness using one-time state funds from the American Rescue Plan Act. So it was a really good discussion that I had with her, and I was really thankful to hear that she was reaching out to all of council, and so many of us were able to meet with her. We did have as a council, we had our annual budget retreat last week. Presentations we had from our CFO Devin Schmidt on our funds, capital projects, and general fund. I would just suggest that it felt like one of the most seamless processes I've been through so far, given my time on council. Staff was able to provide thorough and complete responses to council questions, and only a little bit of follow-up required in comparison with some of the previous years. So over the next several meetings, we will have public hearings over the budget and consider adoption for the 2024 budget. And we also had a Durango Renewal Partnership meeting on October 9th, and we approved 2 Midtown PEAT grants with unanimous support from the commissioners. One was for the Riverfront Center parking area and the alleyway just east and north of the riverfront property, with connectivity to the Animas River Trail. That project will include paving and striping of the parking area, which was in really bad shape down there. and address drainage, as well as some like landscape upgrades on the corner of Main and West 14th and Camino del Rio with landscape cleanup. This project was approved for $50,000 from the Midtown Grant Program. And then we also approved an upgrade for Famberger, an $85,000 peak grant to improve the aesthetics and functionality of their high visibility corner on 14th and East 2nd Avenue by covering the patio with a steel structure. So they intend to move the guest seating area outside, which will free up square footage to expand their kitchen. The seating will now be 365 days a year with heaters for cold months. So I think that that was a great meeting that we all were able to participate in. And that's it for me. So moving on then to public comment. Do we have any public comment? This is for items 8, 9, and 11.
The airport is just there to let you know the quarterly report is there for your information.
Thank
There's
you.
nothing on
Thank
that.
you for noting that. But that on our agenda is 6.1, which is the Airport Commission Quarterly Report, and those minutes are in the agenda packet. And we do have some public comment. This is for items 8, 9, and 11. And we will, oops, I just missed that. I will start with Aaron Jolly, please. We are limiting comment to 3 minutes. If you could please state your name and if you're a resident of the city.
I'm Erin Jolly and I do live in Durango, Colorado.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm Erin Jolly. I work with the La Plata Food Equity Coalition. Before that, I worked in childhood nutrition, ending hunger for our community, local advocacy for local foods. I'm a community advocate. You might be wondering why I'm here, advocating for businesses and economic development. Originally, when I joined the coalition, it was to work on food access. So in my mind, that meant food stamps, WIC, pantries, kind of that type of assistance. However, we went out into the community, into our most impacted community members, including our rural and BIPOC residents, and asked what would it take to be food secure. And the responses were less about getting food and more about economic opportunity. Having things like sufficient income, affordable housing, childcare, cultural representation, a sense of belonging. Those things probably aren't too surprising, but it really helped us pivot where we put in our resources for the coalition. We pivoted and started working on economic equity and building inclusivity in our ecosystem here in Durango and in La Plata at large, so that all entrepreneurs have a chance to thrive, feed their families. During the pandemic, we saw that food security and health inequities among our BIPOC and rural residences were the hardest impacted by that. And we saw those same inequities that exist in our entrepreneur access to resources. So things like loans and business planning and licensing, finding a kitchen facility were harder for some than others. These voices are reflected here in our food business findings that Tommy talked about. So these are the voices that lead our work. The business owners that we're hoping to support and that we're working with, including a growing number of Hispanic entrepreneurs, not only generate income for their own families, but for other families, creating jobs, creating taxes, contributing taxes, bringing culture and flavor into Durango, making us unique and multicultural. We saw a lot of success and interest last year with the city inclusive entrepreneurship that Tommy talked about. We got to work alongside other cities from Berkeley to Chattanooga, Tennessee, to, all from coast to coast. And it was kind of cool because Durango kind of rose above as kind of a model and a highlight of what is possible when a community gets together. You talked to Jessica about all those different multi-sector partnerships. We excelled at that among a national cohort, and we were really proud, and they invited us back to come and carry our work forward because they saw how far that we took that 15 grand and we ran with it. I'm really proud of what we've done, and we're poised and ready to continue our partnership with the city of Durango. And we would love for you to join one of our food business work group meetings if you would like to and see what we're up to. And thank you so much for your support.
Thank you so much. Aaron, is it Brazil? Okay. Okay, okay, I was wondering.
No,
Thank
no,
you.
no.
Okay.
So my name is Priscilla Newell. I live in here in Durango.
you.
I'm actually an entrepreneur. And I started a business last year, Love and Juice and Cafe Amor, located in 11th Street Station. So I'm probably an example of this wonderful group. Last year, when I started, I didn't have any of the resources that they are putting together now. So it was really difficult for me to create a business and probably disappointed at some times. And I probably was not gonna open it if I couldn't have the help of so many people from here in the community. So I was really lucky that someone knew someone in one of the banks and helped me put my business, kind of follow the steps that she gave me. And then the health department also helped me, and that's it. Then I need to kind of Google a lot of things, including the kitchen that we're talking about. There was not a kitchen for me. So I ended with Sage Kitchen. So luckily they had a spot and I was able to build it. But what I'm trying to say is it was really difficult for me last year. Then this person who actually helped me told me that they were gonna put this group. And I was super excited that they were gonna put all those resources together and that help together for new entrepreneurs. So now I'm so happy to belong to that group and help them mentor new entrepreneurs going through the difficult times that I went through with this beautiful group, and all the help that they're providing is easier and faster. And I cannot tell you how proud I am of this community. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time. Do we have anyone who would like to speak virtually, Tom, or anybody?
No, Mayor, no one has indicated that they would like to speak.
Great, thank you. All right, we will move on to the consent agenda. May we please have a reading?
8.1 is approval of minutes of the October 3rd, 2023 City Council regular meeting. 8.2 is final reading of ordinances. We have a final approval of ordinance 0-2023-18, enacting a standing order regarding the prohibition of firearms and other deadly weapons in city buildings. We also have final approval of ordinance 0-2023-19, approving the cross right-of-way abandonment request. We have a couple of resolutions for adoptions under 8.3. We have approval of the mayoral letter of commitment for the National League of Cities City Inclusive Entrepreneurship Program. And we have item 8.3.2, which I believe was pulled. Okay, so there was a request from staff to pull 8.3.2, which is approval of a mayoral letter of support for the Regional Housing Alliance grant application. 8.4 is approval of administrative items. We have the approval of administrative updates to the City of Durango's Boards and Commissions Manual. We have a request for a public hearing on the city manager's 2024 proposed budget, including Highway User Tax Fund, HUTF distributions, and discussion of possible action regarding a resolution authorizing an appropriation for the Colorado Department of Transportation Highway Safety Office Speed and Distracted Driving Grant Program that will close by June 14th. Under land use and development items, we have approval of the Twin Buttes Phase 1 Filing 4 final plat. And we have a request for a public hearing to review the proposed lot 1R through R3 BLD preliminary minors subdivision.
Thank you, Pei. I will remove item 8.3.2. Is there any other counselor that would like to remove an item from the consent agenda?
I'd like to remove item 8.4.1.
All right, may I have a motion from council, please?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda without 8.3.2 and 8.4.1.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Buell,
Yes.
Mayor Youssef,
Yes.
Councilor Bosman's,
Yes.
Councilor Woodruff,
Yes.
Councilor Yazzie.
Yes,
All right, I'll go first. I make a motion to approve item 8.3.2. Well, I make a motion to just remove it because it is no longer valid. It's a moot. It's no longer appropriate to be on the agenda for now, unless there's any staff follow-up. on that. Okay, do I have a second? It's a moot.
You mean like we don't need it?
Yeah, it's, yeah, correct.
I'll second.
Roll call, please. Just, unless there's any discussion.
Your motion is to.
Take it off the agenda. 8.3.2, no longer needed.
Make sure the minutes reflect we didn't vote in favor of it. That's.
Right. Motion is to remove.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
What-
absolutely.
What happened? What
Staff,
changed?
I need staff to answer that.
I believe the short answer is that it's no longer something that the LPA is, or the La Plata Economic Alliance is applying for. Therefore,
Correct.
we need a letter of support.
Correct, yeah. Apologies for the late change, but we talked to the Economic Development Alliance. I think it was just yesterday, and they decided not to apply for that grant. So they don't need a letter of support for a grant. They're not applying.
Thank you. May we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Youssef,
Yes.
Counselor Yazzie,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Buell,
Yes.
Counselor Bosman.
Yes,
Thank you. Counselor Bosman's.
yeah. I have questions, so I can't really make a motion. So, yeah, okay. The first question is, has the CRC, it's probably for you, for the city attorney question, has the CRC officially been dissolved?
CRC, you're catching me a little bit off guard here. Let's get a motion on the floor first, though. He's not going to move because I think he might be opposed to it. So just a courtesy motion to get it on the floor for discussion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion.
Well, excuse me. So it is my understanding, maybe the city manager knows, that the CRC, the Community Relations Commission, has not officially been dissolved. Is that correct? In
It has not been officially resolved, dissolved by council, no. There's currently only one member on that board and they have not met for quite some time.
Okay.
I can add that back into the manual if you would prefer.
Well, I'm going to make a little point here because and this is also for the new councillors. Last year, a little background, if you have 5 minutes, I'm not sure if we get 5 minutes here. Last year, there was some friction from a former council member with the Community Relations Commission. Then it came on the agenda to be dissolved, and that changed to it being kept alive because it was a formality issue of a liaison being present. And then after some more back and forth, the majority of that commission resigned from that commission with only one member left. And in April this year, right before you came on board on the council, the existing council at the time dissolved about 4 advisory boards, but not the CRC. And the CRC was not dissolved because it was under the pretext at the time that we were going to do a regional CRC and DEI effort with other entities, whether it's the school or the county. And even though I brought up that it's going to take a lot of time, it was still moved forward as a commission that would be kept alive, but not active. And maybe that's the way I can best word that. So we have one member on that board, no meetings, no agendas, nothing. And I think that we really, and the city does its own DIE efforts internally, but we have, for all the people in our community that have issues or are feeling marginalized, there is no commission or board they can go to. There's nobody who represents them towards the council or makes recommendations. And I think that's a pity because when I look, first of all, we're not serving our community right, that specific group, but we are slowly eliminating the CRC and the whole effort that went into it by, in this case, removing it completely from the boards and commissions manual, because the updates to the boards and commissions manual addresses the actual boards that were dissolved, but also the CRC. But on paper, at least, we have a CRC commission to represent and to be a place for those people. So where are we going with this? I mean, are we just slowly moving it away from the radar and then Or are we gonna do something about this? Because if we take it out of the boards and commission manual, we're basically saying we're taking it off the table. And then maybe we should, if people on this council feel that way, we should be very clear and say we don't support it. I'm actually looking for feedback from councillors, yeah, because I can make my little speech here, but I think this is what the changes in the boards and commission manual are.
And just to clarify, if I could, I was just cleaning up the manual and I can certainly add that back. That is not a problem whatsoever.
Why was it taken off? Was it just because there was no activity there, or?
Yeah, there just hadn't been any activity on the board, so I just added it to my list, but that wasn't any decision or
No, that's-
proclamation or anything else. for
Well,
that-
and the
for that
plan
matter.
was to have a regional board and not
was.
have it within the city because we are doing our city efforts with DEI and what the city manager outlined today in his evaluation, all his efforts. So.
And I believe we had one member left on the Community Relations Commission after 4 had resigned. And I believe that that individual is helping us in another regard. I don't know if we might be able to speak to that.
Yes, I mean, she's, I don't know if it's like an official portion, but she's helping us with our community engagement outreach and our translation. She was with us at the Connect and Engage Forum to provide translation services. So they are plugged into the community and helping us in that way, and definitely still following the direction of trying to get a regional board settled. Obviously, as some of the entities are still pondering and questioning if that regional board works for them. And we continue to wait and work with them. But in the meantime, I still think that you see some of our DEI opportunities that aren't necessarily all internal, as you see with just what we had here on our food co-op program that Tommy Crosby was working on in inclusivity, showing that we are working with the community. It's not all internal. And then we also have our DEI cross-functional team who has reported to council and talking about their land acknowledgement and working with the different tribes in the area to get that done, which I know is something that has been on the agenda for a while. So there are outgoing and outreach efforts being undertaken.
Thanks for that update. All right.
I have another comment. So, but before, if any other council wanted to comment, are we doing anything with the CRC besides the?
I
update
think
line?
you can have another comment just briefly, because unless you have something to say against what we just responded to, and then we should have a vote.
Okay, so I was looking for feedback from council, so, but it's okay. The next question on the boards and commission manual is, where are working groups or focus groups covered? Is there any place for that? Structure of it, who initiates it? And the reason I tell you is because boards and commissions are typically appointed by council. And they are to make recommendations to council. So you have a type of checks and balances between what city staff recommends and what our community through a board and commission provides as feedback to us as a council. The working groups, and this is a funny one because several months ago, I made a new business item to establish a malfunction junction working group, and I didn't get support from council. But now there is a city manager initiated working group or focus group, I think it's the same word, for that malfunction junction. And the difference is that the working groups, the two that are being established, are appointed by the city manager. So I believe that there is maybe some loss of objectivity or independence or checks and balances, maybe, I'm not saying it is, but that is something that I'm wondering is how do we define working groups? Where are they defined?
So a couple of questions. I know Erin's going to briefly touch upon the focus groups and the intent and how she presented it. They were going to be formulated. Council boards and commissions aren't really checks and balances. They're advisory to council groups. There's a difference between checks and balances and advisory to council. Erin, I think will brief on just a little bit of a recap on the presentations you've already given council as to how working groups have gone. And then just a clarification, I did not appoint the focus group for the malfunction junction. As you recall, it was actually done by our transit department. Our transportation department sought applications through our community engagement and Engage Can Connect portal. I did not have any influence, nor was I asked about who should be on that focus group. So just for clarification.
Erin Hyder, Assistant City Manager, and I've been working with our community engagement cross-functional team to refine our focus group initiative and program. I want to, probably in early August, we sent out to council the structure of focus groups and how they intended to be used by staff, and how we outlined kind of the process in which we intended to solicit folks to participate, kind of the intended timeline, the type of projects they would participate on. Since then, we have launched in partnership with Devin King, our first focus group for the 15th Street, 3rd Ave kind of focus group. Now that we're having insights, and we've had 2 of the 3 meetings for that focus group on that topic. Today, in fact, we had a meeting in which we're refining the areas in which we feel like we could provide more clarification, both internally and externally, on how our focus groups are intended to be used. So once that is finalized, they would not fall into boards and commissions because they're not appointed. But instead we'll be posting these online as part of our Connect and Engage Durango platform.
Thank you so much for that update. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Any other counselors have comments? I would just, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's hard to, these decisions were made by the body previous. And so I'm just, kind of here supporting the direction as the preceding council. That being said, I think you're right. The CRC was not dissolved. And so I think probably would be good just to get maybe an update. And I think, Jose, we may have done a one-on-one to get for information only about where the CRC was and how to best move forward. But it might be good to maybe have more discussion around what the CRC's role is in the community and how we get this more regional. And maybe we've already done that and I just don't remember. I'm sorry.
And you're welcome to bring that up under new business.
Perfect.
Okay. Other thoughts, comments? Go ahead.
With the CRC, I think I'm in agreement with Dave and Olivia. I think we should leave it on the books for now and maybe investigate if there's a possibility to reinvigorate that board. Because I think it was either 2016 or 17. I was on that board briefly before I had to change my occupation. And back then, they were doing outreach to the community, and they were also trying to focus on I suppose, ethnic communities. And they did seem to do a lot of work, but there was always a lot of controversy on that committee because of the topic. So I would feel comfortable if like Faye volunteered just to leave that back in there, and then we revisit this issue at a later date. That'd be fine with me. Thank
Can I
you.
suggest that there be a joint substitute motion to accept the amended changes with the exception of reinstalling the Community Relations Commission into the manual? So in other words, you're really just discussing updates to the manual. You're not discussing the merits of having that committee in place, but it seems like a joint motion by 2 or 3 of you to amend this to put Community Relations Commission back under the boards that are listed, not eliminated from the manual, gives you the freedom to work that out in the future. So you'd have to do a substitute or an amended motion to keep the CRC in the manual, as Faye suggested she could do a little while ago.
Shall I make a motion to accept that? Oh man, I have to open the name here.
It would be to approve the administrative manual with the exception of including the Community Relations Commission instead of eliminating it from one of the committees.
So moved, is that enough? So moved.
Second.
So now you have that amended motion on the floor.
Yeah, just any discussion, council? Roll call, please.
Counselor
Wait, I
Yancey?
think you need to take public
Yes.
comment because you haven't taken any public comment on this yet. You need to call for public comment.
Okay, do we have any public comment on this issue? Live or virtual?
Did you just have public comment?
We did, but I think he wants to add it.
Well, I think because we pulled it off the consent agenda and it was its own motion, there was not an opportunity, but you just gave one and there wasn't any. So you're good.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Counselor Yazzie,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Youssef,
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Buell.
Yes.
Excellent. Moving on to item number 10, public hearing regarding the downtown fire station powerhouse minor subdivision preliminary plan 1235 and 1295 Camino del Rio. Let's see. Do we have a staff presentation? We do.
Jose, you were correct. We did take public comment twice on that one, but
Just making
but
sure
better
I'm-
to do it twice than not do it at all. So my mistake. You did have that. opportunity.
Good evening, Council. Mayor Youssef, Daniel Murray with Community Development Department. Bear with me while we cue things up. Looks like we're good to go. Thank you. Get this. Which direction should I be pointing? Does it matter? I'm not getting any advance. That'll do. Okay, thank you. The proposal before you is the downtown fire station powerhouse minor subdivision. The applicant is the city of Durango, and for clarity, if there's questions of the applicant, I will turn to Jose Madrigal, city manager, to answer those for you. The proposal is to divide 2 properties and make 3 out of it. The ultimate goal would be a property for Durango Fire Station 2. There's also the inclusion of the powerhouse property, and I can show you why they're being included in this subdivision. The process thus far is 2-step. This is preliminary plat. It's gone to Planning Commission and they have a recommendation for you. Then we have council this evening. You'll be taking formal action. And then the final step is administrative. That's when staff makes sure all the conditions are met and we move forward with recording of the document. So here we are for context. These are the 2 properties bordered by the river on one side and Camino del Rio on the other. Zooming in a little further, you have River City Hall on the bottom of your screen sharing a wall with Station 2. Then the northern property here is Powerhouse, and then there's the classroom building there also on their property. So as I mentioned, currently the parcels are occupied by Durango Fire as well as River City Hall. Lot 1 will continue to be occupied by Durango Fire. Lot 2 will also continue to be occupied by the powerhouse, and Lot 3 is basically what's left over from Lot 1 that's being used for parkland. So we would retain that portion for park uses, which includes our river trail. Lots 2 and 3 remain in city ownership, and then as we mentioned, Lot 1 is under an agreement for sale to Durango Fire. All 3 lots would keep their existing zoning of mixed-use arterial, which is a land use classification that supports both a fire station as well as a place of assembly, which is what we'd consider the science center. And Lot 3 could be rezoned in the future. It's not uncommon that we have city property that has a zoning that needs to change. For example, the Iris Park next door is also city property owned mixed-use arterial. It's just how the property was zoned when we acquired it. So that can be cleanup that we do at a later time. For background, the city bought lots 1 and 2 in 1983 from the power company. The building that's River City Hall and Fire Station is roughly constructed in 1970. And we know Lot 2, Powerhouse, is a historic building and constructed in 1893. So this is the best illustration. I'll spend some time here as we describe the properties. You see Lot 1, that's reserved for Durango Fire. Lot 2 is the powerhouse. Lot 3 is the leftover portion of Lot 1 that the city is going to retain, including the river trail. And importantly, as with any subdivision, the city is getting right of way. So that becomes city property and we would maintain that like we do any road. It's a public right of way. The reason why Powerhouse is involved is that oval you see in the middle of your screen is the straightening of that property line. That's a better use of property to have perpendicular lines. And that's why this was expanded. The scope was expanded to bring in the Powerhouse property, still owned by the city. I think I'll actually stay on this exhibit and walk through some of our criteria for consideration because it shows it quite well. I mentioned the dedication of right-of-way here. There is also dedication or going to be on the revised version pursuant to comments from not only engineering, but Durango Fire, that there should be an emergency access. If you're familiar with Powerhouse, there is a emergency access road that has gates on either end that parallels the river trail. So we are formally dedicating that emergency access, which is again, very common with subdivision plating. In speaking with Durango Fire, they thought that easement always existed, but a thorough title search did not yield any easements, so we're dedicating it. All parcels have been evaluated for compliance with the lot size and minimum width. And utilities are a big part of this analysis. You can see here in the middle of the screen, this corridor is a very well utilized corridor for gas, water, sewer, and stormwater. Almost everything is flowing through this portion of really how we get a lot of utilities under the river and over to the west side of town. All agencies have provided comment that includes city engineering, LPEA, and Durango Fire, and those are conditions that will be addressed with final plat recording. And I think I'll add one piece of consideration that's not before us this evening is the proposed redevelopment of the fire station. That's on a separate track. It's a separate project. It's a major site plan review. Savannah Lytle in our office is handling that component of it. That has gone to both Planning Commission and Design Review for early guidance, and it's going to go back to Planning Commission Design Review on December 5th. So related, but entirely different track and not before you this evening for action. I think that captures it. I just discussed all those items as we're looking at the plat. Looking at strategic plan and comprehensive plan compatibility, this very clearly supports the goal of enhanced livability and sense of place. Provision of adequate emergency services is called out explicitly. Similarly, with the comprehensive plan, I thought this was an interesting reference. Our comprehensive plan is dated 2017, and at that time, the reference here in goal 24 was to coordinate with Durango Fire to relocate the existing station at River City Hall to enhance service. Well, all things considered, 6 years later, it's our River City Hall that's relocating to still fulfill that goal. So the intent is being met. We have not received any public comment on this proposed subdivision. The Planning Commission did consider and made a formal recommendation unanimously for approval of the subdivision, and staff is recommending approval of the downtown fire station Powerhouse Minor subdivision with the findings and conditions in the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have a motion from council?
Well, you may do public comment.
I was going to open the public hearing after I had a motion on the table.
I'll make a motion to approve the downtown fire station and Powerhouse Minor subdivision, subject to the stated findings and conditions as outlined in the staff report and discussed at this public hearing.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, I will open the public hearing. Do we have any public comment, live or virtual? And anyone virtually?
No, Mayor, no one has indicated that they'd like to speak.
Thank you. I will close the public hearing. Let's have council discussion.
I'll just make my comment as always that as one person on council, I find it very unfortunate that we use this prime riverfront location in this direction. But as a member of council, majority has voted, and that's the way it will be. And as such, I cannot say that the minor subdivision does not meet that council body decision and direction.
Other council comments?
Thanks for putting in the work on this, minor subdivision. I know it's probably a lot of legwork to be able to do all this for something that we own and have all that over. So thank you.
Anybody else? Nope. Yeah, I would just add that the transfer of the property and the steps that we're taking today have been approved after years of looking at multiple properties and finally finding a mutually agreeable options for both organizations. As you may recall in our discussions, this real estate transfer will benefit our community and advance the interest of public good. This option provides optimal facilities for the DFPD, provides them with greater operational capabilities, and allows them to better serve and protect. And we are fostering growth and development of our community in a positive way after years and years of discussion, review, and analysis of the various options. So I would just reiterate that both the DFPD and the city of Durango, in addition to the majority of council, after hearing from our community, recognize that this is very needed in our community for our commitment to safety, security, and the prosperity of our community. And this is just another step in the process to get us where we need to get. So thank you. And with that, I believe we need a roll call.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Buell,
Yes.
Counselor Yazzie,
Yes.
Mayor Youssef,
Yes,
Counselor Bosman's.
Yes.
thank you.
you.
Moving on to item 11.1. I will hand this over to, let's see, Jose, are you taking that one? Devin Schmidt.
No, Mayor, that would be Counselor Woodruff as the counselor who had proposed this to be. on
Okay,
the
I'm going to
agenda.
pass it to you, Counselor Woodruff,
Sure.
if you can read it and inform the community.
Yeah, of course. So 11.1 was a resolution directing the city manager to include funding for a full-time position for a municipal court judge in the 2024 budget and remove funding for the contract for municipal judge services in the 2024 budget. Oh, so moved.
I'll second.
Council discussion? Or do we have a presentation on? No presentation.
No presentation.
Okay.
no.
Okay, so just council discussion.
So I brought this up last meeting, and we all agreed to move forward. It was under new business, to direct staff to look at what that full-time judge position would look like from a fiscal standpoint. We did speak to it briefly in our 2024 budget retreat last week. And so I guess I just wanted to kind of give some clarification on why I thought this would be a good exercise to go through. And so I've got, a few reasons. As council, we have 3 appointees, 2 of which are full-time. I feel like we could make it to where there would be 3 full-time appointees and not break one of those into a couple of part-time contractual employees. By having 1 full-time position, the city and council knows that we have 1 person dedicated to serving as judge in our municipal court and potentially not be torn away by outside obligations or other jobs taking a precedent over our municipal court system. I feel that it is critically important that we have 1 individual that can be fully committed to our courts to provide consistency, accountability, and reliability in our process. Having 1 full-time position allows there to be more consistency across the spectrum for municipal court. From times for the court being available to the public to consistency in rulings, 1 person provides better continuity in our system than 2, in my opinion. Having 1 full-time person allows better communication to exist across departments, with 1 person to communicate with from the city attorney's office, city clerk's office, et cetera. It keeps communication easier with 1 point of contact. As we know, it is entirely too easy for things to fall through the cracks, and having 1 less mechanism to go through makes it more efficient for everyone. So that was kind of my rationale to even bring this up initially. And as we have 2 appointees that are part-time now, it's my hope that 1 or both would apply for the full-time position. I mean, who better knows our system and our community better than the people that are currently serving? I just feel like we could maybe collectively benefit as a community with 1 full-time person that's really committed and can showcase, those things that we look for in a municipal court judge.
Thank you. Counselor comments, discussion. Other counselors.
So the $94,783, is that the increased amount from what we currently do? Sorry, I just was confused.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, Council, Devin Schmidt, Chief Financial Officer. So the 94,783 is the current contracted amount for the 2 part-time judges. And so on a budgetary impact, it would be the difference between approximately the $130,000, which would provide benefits, retirement, and those other pieces that come along with being a benefited employee. And so that's where that approximation is at.
So it's like a $35,000 increase, essentially, a little bit more, but okay. And And then the contracts for both judges expire at the end of this year, 2023, correct?
December 31st, 2023.
Okay.
Any other counselor comments or questions?
Okay, so the total cost to this change would be 130,000. Okay, the total cost would be 130.
That's the total cost. The prior cost was 94 something. I'm not looking at it. So the difference is 36,000.
That would be one more full-time employee.
Sorry, Devin, I'm not going to answer for you. You go ahead.
No problem. Yeah, that would be taking the 2 contracted positions and moving that to a 1 full-time employee. So that would increase headcount. With that obviously comes the benefits, retirement, and those other Medicare, their components.
And would they also have office space?
Yes, the current judge does have office space. Judges, excuse me.
Okay, thanks.
And I do need to clarify one thing that I've noticed since y'all were discussing. The resolution that appeared in the short agenda is slightly different than the resolution that's in the full packet. And that's on me and other members of the staff that it didn't get fully written. But in the package, it says we changed the budget, we eliminate everything that just read, but then it also appeared that and directing the city manager to seek applicants for the full-time municipal court judge position. So we need to make that clear what we're doing tonight, if we're just changing the funding or if it's your intent to change the funding and then direct him to start seeking someone to be full-time because the contracts do end December 31st. It's up to you guys on what you want to do. I just want to point out that what was read and what's on the floor is not what was actually in the packet because it has that extra statement and directing the city manager to seek applicants for the full-time position.
Okay, shall I make some comments?
Well, do you want to, first of all, I'm just wondering if we have a new motion on the floor to consider. If someone wants to make a new motion.
Do we need to?
If you direct him to change the funding, that's going to take effect as of January 1. So you would want to use the time between now and January 1 to seek applicants to fill a full-time position if that's the direction you decide to go with the funding of it.
Decide on this motion first. If this will address them.
So the motion on the floor as written in the packet should be a resolution directing the city manager to include funding for a full-time position for municipal court judge in 2024 budget and remove funding for the contract municipal court judge in the 2024 budget, and further directing the city manager to seek applicants for a full-time municipal court judge.
Sorry, I'm trying to find that in my packet here.
Or so moved.
What's that?
You can also say so.
Yeah, so moved.
It's on page 142 of the packet.
I move to direct the city manager to include funding for a full-time position for a municipal court judge in the 2024 budget and remove funding for the contract for a municipal judge services in the 2024 budget. And to find a full-time. What's that? And to seek applicants for said position. Thank you.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, continue.
Have a red card.
Now we can have council discussion. Would you like, go ahead.
Okay, so. Okay, finding a judge, I think that's a really skilled position. Say, for example, if the contracts end on the last day in December and we don't hire anybody in the interim to fill the position starting the 1st of January, what are we going to do for a judge?
Can it be month to month on a contractual basis or?
Go ahead.
So, I mean, it's really at the council's pleasure and what y'all would want to do in that point. I think just kind of talking from Mark, I know that there's interest in this position to begin to go. So I don't know if that's actually, I mean, it may be a possibility, but I don't think it is something that we can see as applicants roll in with your application. If it's something that you want to have those conversations to extend, but on the municipal court judge side, I'd have to lean more towards Mark on the law and the legalities of how that can work.
Sure. I mean, you're only contracted through the end of this year, so you have to do something. You can either make the shift to a full-time judge, or you can decide to continue having contractual services. And you would have that option to go forward as a stopgap if you don't get any applicants. My read as a lawyer and someone who works with the court and the full-time position and the way that I envision it working, you are going to have plenty of applicants. As a working attorney, it's attractive to have a job like this. It's a regular income. And what I think is envisioned, or at least what I would suggest to you, is that position be full-time, but it not preclude outside legal work if it doesn't interfere with the job. Much like my contract says, I'm a full-time employee for you guys, but I am not prohibited from having an outside law practice as long as it doesn't conflict with my duties to the city. I choose not to do that because I'm a very lucky guy with a very wealthy wife, but other people would like the opportunity to have a good income and then make money on the side in an outside practice. So I think you will get plenty of applicants for the position as it's envisioned.
Okay, and just one more clarification point. Okay, since we had our budget retreat last week and we went through all the line items one by one, I want to ask Devin, how will this impact the budget that we had reviewed last week?
Sure. So we have reconciliation, Counselor Yazzie, coming up on November 7th at the study session. At that time, staff will take anything that council or anything that has changed since the budget was proposed, and we'll provide that to you in the form of reconciliation. Should council approve be okay with what we're doing with reconciliation, then we would have first reading on November 21st. In between that, we will have a public hearing. And then we will also have second reading and approval on December 5th. So oftentimes there are certain things that change in a budget process, whether that's reappropriating capital projects or anything that has to do with self-insurance or workman's comp. And so that's kind of how that process works. We give you the newest information and say, here's what we're proposing as part of reconciliation.
Just a quick answer to that. The council did direct us to be prepared for that as we were going through the budget process. So it won't have an impact as staff was prepared to have this as this could be an option. So this is just formalizing that option. So in your budget, it wouldn't have an impact for it.
All righty. So is that 6 or 7 new FTEs that we have to plan for in the future?
I would have to get you that exact number, just because I don't have that in front of me, but we could certainly follow up with you on that.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
Other staff comments?
Yes, I have a couple of comments. So this is, Dave, Councillor Woodruff, you brought this forward for under new business. And then nothing was discussed because it's a new business item for future discussion. And then during the budget retreat, we briefly touched upon the finances. For me, I need a lot more info since I don't believe anyone on council is as familiar with the municipal court, the way it functions, demands, current judges, and the comments, Councillor Woodruff, you made just now on why it made sense to you. It makes sense. I mean, but there's no research done beside an interest to have some future discussion. And unfortunately, you also sent an email on yesterday implying that this was a done deal. And well, no, to me, it is implying. I have my 5 minutes. We can print the email if you want, but you're asking current judges to apply for a new position. I just don't believe that was I think it was very unfortunate. I wouldn't treat our appointees that way. I respect judges very highly. And we are basically implying that we as councillors know better how municipal courts function and what improvements are needed. And we decided to get rid of the current positions of the current judges, and we'll find someone else. And just some initial questions I would have is, how do other municipalities do it in our size? Feedback from our current judges and our city attorney. We have changes in the workload because there's changes made in the process that will take effect for the judges that will hopefully make it more efficient. Maybe there will be less time demand for the judges, and maybe you only need a part-time judge. Because that still has to trickle down those changes that we made. And the changes were on traffic fines, processes, corporation, police department, and the prosecutor. So I just need more information before I say, okay, let's do a knee-jerk reaction and fund this full-time position without really knowing what we need and how the changes that we had planned for. I think it's very good to assess it, but I don't think we can assess it properly with the information we have. So I would support keeping it on the radar screen for the longer term, but to do this within a month and hope to have a full-time judge, I find it a bit too short notice. So that's a bit my position.
Other comments?
Yes. What I find unfortunate is the consistent negativity and twisting of things that happen to make the public think that what we're doing is somehow like backhanded or quick or not thought out or not. There's nothing in Dave's email that he sent out saying that this was a done deal. It was just more to inform because we had our appointees evaluations today. And so to inform our appointees before our evaluation that we are in fact talking about this, just in case they didn't listen to the city council meeting, because I know it's so exciting and we love to be here. Not everyone listens to every city council meeting. And so I thought it was very respectful and kind of a heads up of Councillor Woodruff to kind of send that out just to give a heads up. It's been numerous things that have been said today that I've chosen not to speak about and not to respond to, because I feel like every time I do, I get kind of worked up and I don't want to be negative and I try to keep a positive spin on things. But this one, definitely, I want to just make sure that people know that a lot of the things that Councillor Bosman said today, I believe, are twisted in a very negative way. And if anyone has any questions about how we decided things about the CRC or things about the boards and commissions manual, I'm happy to chat. Go ahead and just shoot me an email and we can talk about the processes that we've been through for years, months, whatever it's been for each and every of those situations. In terms of the judge, we're not changing the position. We're literally taking two part-time positions and we're making them to one position. And so it's not a change of the position. It's not saying that we know how to run the municipal court better. It's literally saying we feel like because we're a growing municipality and with growing issues, just like any municipality nationwide right now, that we will be better served with a full-time person focusing on the city of Durango, available on weekends when we possibly may need time, which we don't have anyone available on weekends or Tuesdays and Thursdays right now, I think. And so I think it's a great way for us to grow and serve our citizens better and potentially work with the other parts of the city better. We're not changing anything and we're not kicking anyone out. We're saying, hey, this is a new position. You apply for it. We would love to see your application. We're not saying you're doing a bad job and you're fired. We're saying we're switching directions, and instead of two part-time positions, we want a full-time, and also giving someone in this community great benefits, great, everything that the city has to offer, which I think is a step in the right direction. So those are my 2 cents. Thank you.
Other comments? All set. I would just add as well, I think, we did have discussions about this at our retreat and asked staff to bring this forward at a council meeting for us to consider this resolution tonight. So that's what we're doing. I think that there are several reasons as to why a full-time judge would make sense for the city of Durango. We're a growing city. We've gotten to a point where some of these issues are the more complex issues that we're dealing with. And I think from a consistency and efficiency point of view, a full-time municipal judge can provide that consistent and efficient level of judicial services that we might be needing for the city at this time. I think it allows for solid case management and allowing one person to effectively manage their docket and prioritize cases, hopefully helping us reduce some of the backlog of cases and speeding up of our overall legal process for the community. I think it might help with community trust and perception, having the presence of a full-time judge, enhancing the community's perception of our justice system and convey a sense of commitment to the rule of law, fairness, and transparency. I also think it helps potentially one full-time position versus just to be very clear, we have 2 part-time staff in this role currently. So we would, with this change, if it were approved this evening in this resolution, convert to 1 full-time position, which is, I think, likely to attract, as we've discussed, qualified candidates. It's likely to increase the potential likelihood of retaining a skilled judge for a longer period of time, providing stability in the judicial system. And I think allowing for a full-time judge can help us respond to emerging community legal needs and adapt the court's procedures to address those needs promptly. So there's a lot of reasons why, to me, moving to the one full-time position makes sense. So those are just my comments at this time. Any other comments from council? Go ahead, Councilor Yazzie.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, if we had 1 full-time judge, it would be my preference that they weren't allowed to work outside jobs. And I just want to make that clear here, if and when the council directs the city manager to put out prerequisites for the judge. That's all.
Okay, we have a motion on a table. And I think I would just ask for a roll call at this time, unless we want to redo the motion.
I think the motion on the floor is fine. My only question is whether you take any public comment.
Okay.
I always err on the side of taking it.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for the reminder.
Sure.
I'd like to do that before we take a roll call. Thank you. Do we have any public comment for this, either live or virtual? I don't think we do. Okay, may we have a roll call, please?
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Counselor Yazzie,
Yes.
Counselor Bosman,
Abstain.
Mayor Pro Tem Buell,
Yes.
Mayor Youssef.
Yes. Excellent. We don't have any items in item number 12, first reading of ordinances. So then we move on to public comment on non-agenda items. Do we have anyone for item section number 13, either live or virtually? Nothing. Then I'll hold my breath on talking about it. And no one virtually, just to be sure. Is this for any
No,
non-agenda?
Mayor, no one virtually.
Okay. Thank you so much. Moving on then to, we don't have any other items on number 14. Item 15.1, discussion regarding lodgers tax council determination, budgeting for outcomes services proposals. Hi, Devin.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, Council, Devin Schmidt, Chief Financial Officer. So at the budget retreat on October 10th, the city council received the included council determinations, lodgers tax proposals for review. And that was also included in the packet for this evening. At the retreat, it was discussed by the budget team that all the proposals could be funded, should council decide to do that with the lodgers tax determination. If the Meridian barriers were funded to purchase just 1 trailer instead of 2. So this was just an opportunity for council to have a discussion about what proposals should be included as part of the 2024 budget reconciliation, and provide that direction for staff. And we're also happy to answer any questions about any of the proposals that were included.
So Sorry about that. Okay. Where are we?
No problem. So I had just mentioned that we at the budget retreat had provided council with lodgers tax proposals and kind of showcasing our budgeting for outcomes that we would potentially like to implement for our 25 budget. This was kind of a test case opportunity for us for council to be able to see the different proposals that are related to council determination. At the retreat, the budget team did provide that all proposals could be funded if the Meridian barriers were purchased with one trailer instead of two. All of those proposals were included in this packet as well. And so we were just looking for if we can answer any questions about these proposals for council or receive any direction as to what we should include for the 24 budget and reconciliation.
All right. I think we will need a motion on the table. And it's gonna go back. We'll have to go back. Or, yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I closed. Someone else can do one.
I'm not sure there's a recommended motion, but if there's, the motion would be to move to proceed with the staff recommendations outlined that were given at the budget retreat, I think would be.
And that's with the one,
One.
the one, yeah.
107, yeah.
The Meridian barriers, correct,
And it funds all the rest.
correct.
So moved. Can I do that? Is that fine? Okay, great. We're gonna do that.
Do I have a
I
second?
know it's not coming up.
Second.
Excellent. I don't see anyone for public discussion, just in case we wanted any more public comment, but it doesn't look like we have any. So I would just take council discussion then.
Are we going through each of these proposals separately or just throwing them?
I think the motion on the table is to approve that which council or with staff presented at our retreat, which included, I think, 4 or 5.
Yeah, but we didn't get those. We only got them at the retreat itself, I think, correct?
Correct. And they were included in the packet for the presentation this evening.
So which ones of those are ready to go? Which of these proposals are basically, you can sign a contract right now? And which ones are just a progress?
So a lot of them, so the photo kite, that would be a purchase for crowd monitoring. So that would be the drone, the Meridian barriers, that would just be a goods purchase.
Yep.
The, let me flip through these, give me 1 second. Transit summer, would be a contribution. So that would be, I believe, $115,000 to support the free transit summer, 4,500. So that's just covering parking. So those are just direct contributions to the transit fund so that they can offer those services to the community. And then the e-bikes, that has been a rebate program. So that would be up to the folks that look to request rebates on those e-bikes. So none of these are construction in nature. They're mostly goods or services provided by either existing services or, yeah, so.
So when I look at this as one counselor, I think the e-bikes was associated with grants availability. So to me, we can hold off on allocating that money until we know what the grant matching funds, what would be required, what the maximum, and if there's an interest. So up until that point, my preference would be to leave it in the lodgers tax. And the same with a question I would have is if I am actually very pro the free transit. I think that was a great program, but I find it a bit hard to sell to say we do free transit and we do free parking at the same time. So I know that it's a little bit more nuanced than that because the parking goes to specific areas that are underutilized. But that's something I would want to think a little bit more about, but maybe other councilors have different thoughts.
I think free transit and free parking is a great way to support not only our local economy, but our local workforce, by giving somebody the ability, and not only the workforce, but anybody that wants to utilize the transit system, our great transit system. So I know that the parking, while hard to manage from like who could park there and who was allowed to park there. I know that it was utilized in full all summer long. I know my employees that I work with used it. So I think there's really, really tangible benefits that are immediate that we could all benefit from those two programs alone.
I know Sarah's not here and it's fine, but do we know, I would love to see a huge push to get information to workers downtown and to utilize that free parking pass. Like that would be so huge because I know it's open. You can't really monitor who's applying for it. But if we could like advertise or give flyers to business owners or something, I think that would be so awesome. But I love those ideas. So yes.
Excellent. Other counselor comments? Yeah, I absolutely support the free parking. I think just seeing the increase in our last, since we implemented the program last summer, I think that just shows how well it's used by the entire community, including students. So I think that's good. And the parking is really quite a nominal fee on top of that at 4,500. So that seems like a good thing to offer as well. And then I've heard really positive things about the e-bike rebate program, and anything I can do to encourage people to not take their car downtown and to take their bike instead. Can you comment on are there grants associated with that e-bike and what the status is of that?
Sure. So there was a $25,000 grant from the Colorado Department of Transportation for 2023. That was a matching grant. What this is doing is it's just taking the full amount to be from lodger's tax. So that would not be a grant consideration.
It's not a grant consideration. It's just
Not for
full-
2024.
And it's
no.
just encouraging e-bike basically use is what we're trying to do.
Correct. Yeah. So there's a couple different avenues where folks can do applications. So some are based on income qualifications.
Mhm.
Others are based on just sheer general applications and rebates. And then there's also some awards that has to do with rental and bike share service programs for some of the shops. So this would just continue that funding with it being fully funded by lodger's tax and not having the grant piece for 2024.
Great. Thanks so much.
And there also was, I apologize as I was flipping through this, there was an art project as well included.
That's right.
$80,000 for Schneider Park and Animas River Trail improvements. So that was one that does have some CEC and Durango Creative District information in it as well. So that was also included all in the packet.
Thank you.
So
for reminding me
apologies
of that. Yep.
for missing that one.
No, that's great. Okay. Any other council comments? Okay, seeing. Go ahead.
The art project is from the council determination and not from the arts and culture allocation. Is that? Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. May we have a roll call, please?
Yazzie,
Yes.
Youssef,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Buell.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to item number 16. Any requests for excused absences?
Yes, I will not be available on for the November 7th meeting. So I'm asking for an excused absence.
Excellent. Do we need a motion for that? Okay. I'll make a motion to excuse Mayor Pro Tem Buell from the November 7th regular city council meeting and study session if we have one.
Yes.
Yes, I think we're having one.
Yeah, because it's the budget reconciliation, I think.
Second.
Council discussion. May we have a roll call, please, for that one?
Counselor Bosman's,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Buell.
Yes. So I get, yep.
Counselor
Okay.
Woodruff. Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Counselor Yazzie,
Yes.
and Mayor Youssef.
Yes. Any other requests for excused absences? Okay, seeing none, I'll move to directives. Any directives?
You mean other matters or?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in other matters. I'm in 16.2. Other new business was 15 and I did 15.1. Do you have other new business that you wanted to bring up?
Yeah,
I
I
think
have.
you should do it now. Let me just finish and see if there's any directives. Any directives? Okay, go ahead with other new business.
Yeah, I have several. So the first one was following up on the CRC. I would like to see if there's council support to provide very clear direction to the city manager, including deadlines, to either restaff the CRC and make it active, or to have a firm DEI or Community Relations Commission or group established that covers the approach that was discussed earlier with the school district and with the region. But I think if that keeps dragging out in time, I am worried that we won't be 2 years further and still no venue for community relations, DEI, and those kind of issues to be brought forward. So my question is there council support to provide very clear direction to the city manager to either restart the CRC and get that process started, or to have a DEI group commission regionally established, which is outside of his purview to a certain degree because you can't control your other entities, but
Yeah, this isn't really a direction of me. I think it's more of you asking for an item to be placed on the agenda for the council to decide if they would like to do that, because the boards and commissions are to the city council, not myself.
well, you set the steps in motion for the appointees, the staffing, et cetera, et cetera.
It's a little bit different on this one, because when you look at the budget request that you asked, you were directing me in the budget for funding. This one, where you're looking to do appointees and staff, I can't appoint boards and commission members. The council can do that. So I think what I'm trying to help you with is, I think your item, I'm looking at Mark to help me, is more placing an item on a future council agenda to appoint.
Yeah, you got to move to do something so we can have a vote.
So I don't, okay, well, normally I ask, is there's council support? Because if there's no support, then there's no need to make a motion. Is there council?
That's I mean, we're trying to formalize these things so we gain the public trust of doing everything by formal motion. So I'm just having trouble tracking what you'd like to accomplish. And
let me try and clarify. We have a CRC, but it's inactive. It has one member, no meetings. And this was put under inactive 8 months ago. So until we have an active either CRC, or at the time it was made inactive, we were talking about a regional DEI CRC type entity. We have no place for people that feel they want to reach out.
so I would suggest that you move that the council place on its next agenda a motion to discuss staffing of the CRC or making reappointments to the CRC.
So that's so moved my motion.
And then if you get a majority vote, that would then appear and you could have that discussion at the next meeting. That motion needs a second.
So we need a second and then discussion, correct?
Correct.
Second.
Council discussion?
And again, you're not discussing the merits, you're just discussing whether or not this goes on another agenda to discuss the merits and make the appointments.
Do you want to say something? The one interesting dilemma that I'm in is I know that we've been doing pretty significant outreach with our community partners on this topic. So yeah, we can, I don't know.
I guess I'm not going to discuss necessarily the merits, but I feel like what I can remember coming to council before I was a counselor, it seems that because it became more regional, I don't know if staffing would be the right word to put on it. I think it would, right, because I think we use the word staffing, right? I think it's more of maybe an update about where things are at with I don't know enough to be able to say, hey, let's bring this back. I don't know the full backstory of it all. I mean, you were the liaison for some time. So I guess just like you know, like I don't have enough information to be able to make a good decision right now. So I guess I would like to see more information before we start, making any moves. I think it's good to talk about it and to see what the status is. I hesitate to just be like, oh yeah, let's go ahead and do this, because I don't know the whole backstory. I'm kind of in the dark with what happened previous.
Jose, in our next maybe one-on-ones, could we get an update as to where you're at talks with the region like leaders on this, and then like a list of efforts that we're doing internally as a city. Because I feel like even the steps we've made as a city are significant since the CRC has sort of been on hold. And so I think it's important for us that especially the new counselors have that backstory. Does that make sense? What I'm
Sure,
trying to say?
absolutely. Any counselor one-on-ones or for educational purposes on topics that counselors would like more information on. And I'd be happy to do so for any counselor that would like to do so.
Okay, so motion on the table is to,
Place an item on the next agenda to discuss the restaffing or the reappointments of the CRC.
okay. Any further discussion? May we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Buell,
No.
Mayor Youssef,
No.
Counselor Bosman's,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
No.
Counselor Yazzie.
Yes.
Next
Okay,
item.
Next item. Just interesting. The next item I have is my motion, I guess, will be to have a next agenda item for city council to have very clear information on the functioning on the ballot language required for certain sales taxes because it requires boards and commissions feedback. And then as well as the setup and the functioning of working groups / focus groups. That is my request, a
I
motion.
was hearing two requests. I think I understood that you asked for information on ballot language.
Well, let me explain a little bit better and then I'll reword the motion. Maybe it's
Okay.
better. So the sales tax, some of the sales taxes have specific language on what we as a council are supposed to do and as in community feedback, you know? So that's a trigger point because we eliminated quite a few boards and commissions. And we substituted it to a certain degree with working groups / focus groups. So Aaron explained that there was a presentation or a short document in August that clarifies it, but to me, it's not very clear who initiates it, who establishes it, and who appoints these members of working groups. I know it was my understanding the city manager appointed them for the 9R building. And I just heard that the malfunction junction was appointed by the transportation or multimodal. So to me, it is not clear who appoints who and how. The concern I have, what triggers this is that if I want to drive a certain project and I have control over staff that does it, and I have control over who sits on a working group, and I have control over surveys because they're very limited in scope, it is for me as a counselor difficult to get very objective for information. So
I'm just
before I
trying
go
to,
too far, because
Yeah.
I'm going too far, the motion is
Thank
to
you.
have very clear explanation of how the working groups, focus groups are set up, appointed, and
There's no working groups or focus groups that are over the sales tax. The sales taxes are all
in
under
general.
the
But
FAB.
I'm cutting the sales tax out. This is very general.
I'm trying to understand, but I think what you're asking for is in the ballot language, there's specific language that says that there must be an oversight committee looking at how those funds are spent, and we need to get recommendations from those oversight committees, correct? Is that,
Well,
or for the boards or
I-
a board? Is
my-
that what you're talking about in the taxes?
I think we're going too far in a specific detail. To me, it's the first step is we eliminated boards and commissions and we replaced part of it, community engagement, with working groups / focus groups. And I would like to have very clear on how is that structured, because
Okay.
to me, it is not clear.
So let's see if I understand it better. You would like information on the working groups
/ focus groups.
/
Just to say,
focus
yeah.
groups, which we did receive an email on. But you're asking for a study session? Is that what
I would like to have a staff presentation in a public
Staff
setting. so that-
presentation in
so
a public
all
setting?
know, including our community, how working groups / focus groups work and are supposed to work.
Okay,
Appointed.
I think,
Set
okay,
up.
I understand that better now. Does council understand that, what he's asking for? All right, is there council support for? Is there a second? Council discussion? Okay.
It's pretty, okay, so the email that Aaron sent out it outlines exactly how focus groups are initiated. And I understand it's not the way that you want them initiated. I understand that you want to say, I want a focus group on malfunction
imply what I
junction.
say,
Excuse me, I'm
please.
talking. I want a focus group on malfunction junction. And everyone says, oh, that's a great idea, Counselor Bosman's, let's go do it. And that's not the way it works. The way it works is it's staff or the FAB board or someone needs more information. And so then we put it on the website after one of our ELT members, or like it's literally outlined in the email that Aaron sent. And did you read her email? And so I'm so concerned that the audacity that you just had to insinuate in a public meeting that our city manager for some reason has some control over over everything, over the information that we're given, that the FAB board doesn't see anything, that city council doesn't. It's absolutely maddening. And you just twist everything to make it so negative, and I won't take it.
Well,
Like it's absolutely uncalled for and out of bounds. You are out of bounds.
I would just suggest too, just to bring this full circle, that I think Councillor Bosman's, I heard you suggest that you had suggested that there be a particular focus group on a particular issue. And I would just like to reiterate to the community that staff really came forward with this idea of working groups, which they changed the name to focus groups. And they have been very, clear with us on their intent with those. I have no problem with a public presentation, having staff do a presentation at some point, preferably during a city council meeting. So it's for the public record, such that we can talk about this additional aspect of our public engagement program with the community. It's very intentional. And it's just one other point of contact with our community. We do the engage with staff. We do city council office hours. We have our FAB board. This was another attempt to get diverse input that we're seeking in specific regarding our programs. Right, I think we currently have 2 focus groups in place right now, and 2 in place right now that staff has put into place, and a 3rd in the works. So I think that's important because that's how we get additional information on these programs. I have no problem with staff doing a presentation on that during a city council meeting at a later date if staff is willing to do that. Councillor Yazzie.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, I've been listening very closely here. And what I hear is one counselor asking for information about the focus groups. So I see no problem in presenting that to him in a public, either the council meeting or at the study sessions, because possibly he just needs more explanation as to how these focus groups function and how people are appointed to the committee. I know you're going to say the email and so forth, but sometimes others have difficulty understanding directives. So I think it would be helpful if we just went ahead and provided a little insight and get this cleared up. It's a simple thing.
Other councillor comments? Yeah, okay. Great. So we have a motion on the table. May we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Youssef,
Yes.
Councillor Yazzie,
Yes.
Councillor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Buell,
No.
Councillor Bosman.
Yes. Thank you.
On time frame,
Oh,
Never you have time.
I was going to say, if we could have some time, because Clancy is coming back from maternity leave
Absolutely.
November 12th, and I don't want to throw this on her right as she walks in. So
please,
I
please.
know we've had other presentations Aaron was mentioning that was set up at the very beginning of 2024 that kind of has the community engagement strategy framework. If that time frame works, that's probably where we will shoot for, if that's the pleasure of the council.
That works great for me. And that gives us time to kind of,
Sure.
do a whole update on our outreach. That'd be great. Councillor Bosman's, did you have anything else? Any other councillors, new business? Okay. We do not have an executive session anymore. because we already had that this afternoon with all three of our appointees. So with that, I believe I can look for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Bye.
Yep.
Aye. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.